We often get the question here on Sort It Out SI, how do you create your own club for Football Manager 2024? And we did a video on this last year, and we're going to refresh that today and go through everything specifically for FM24. You can do an option in the game, but that is not as powerful as the way we're going to do it in the pre-game editor, and this will hopefully still be valid for the new game that comes out later this year on Football Manager 2025, which we did a development blog review last week here on the channel. Right, as you can see, I've got the pre-game editor open already. You can get this through Steam and I think through Epic now as well, and whichever system you've got the game installed through, you should be able to find a way. If not, we'll probably do a video on that as well at some point in the future. But you can get the editor through Steam, and this is how you basically just start adding your own club. So choose the database. It is the 24.3 data update is the one I'm going to use today. And what we're going to do is we're going to create Sort It Out SIFC, probably base them in London because that's the capital of England, so why not? And we're going to replace Forest Green Rovers in League 2. So they got relegated from League 2 in the season that is in the game of Football Manager 2024. And we're going to replace them and start out in League 2 just to give it a bit of a fresh start rather than starting non-league and having much of a slog basically to get towards the top. What we might do is we might do a save recap or a Let's Play series on this, probably on my own personal channel, but we'll cover that one towards the end of the video as to whether we do that. And if you do get this pop-up here in the past, if you've been in the editor in the past, you might get this if you haven't saved things. Choose no to not basically save any changes that you may have done and not saved in the past, unless you were in the middle of doing this on this video and the editor crashed or you closed it for some reason. Right, first step, head to the clubs section on the left. You will see all of the clubs that are in the game and be able to filter them and everything like that. Click add to add your own club, and this will give you a unique ID which we'll need in the future if we want to add on graphics or anything like that. So the first thing we need to do here, and apologies for my typing, I'm going to move my microphone out of the way a little bit so it doesn't pick up all the keystrokes, but we're going to go Sort It Out SIFC as the name, short name, Susie, and then 6-letter name. Susie is 5 letters. Will that count? We'll go with that. 3-letter name is Saw. We'll go with Saw. And then don't need any of this. Make sure you don't click the extinct button because that will make your club extinct and you won't be able to manage them. Nation is the first one we need to go to here, and click here. We'll go to search and we'll search basically for England, or it will appear on this list. If we just quickly scroll here, it's there. Unique ID 765 for England. We set that, and that will pre-fill in the based nation and the Continental Cup nation as well. If for any reason you want those to be different, you can go in and change them, but probably best not to. Then we'll go to city, and I think again you do the search option here. We'll add a condition for name and just search for London, and hopefully this will give us London, England. There we go. We don't want any other area. We'll just go with London, England. Be nice and vague and non-specific in that part of the country. So foreground colour and background colour are kind of similar to the colours we've got on the Sort It Out SI branding, so we'll keep them there for now. Year founded, you want to make sure this is before the season begins, so we'll go with 2023 even though the game is 2024 because the season 23-24 is the game the season in the game, so we want to be at least founded before that season begins. Club status, you've got the option of professional, semi-pro, amateur, not set, which is keeping things vague, and the game will probably just choose the best one, or always amateur. If you want a real challenge to be unable to sign any players to any proper contracts, we're going to go with professional because we're going to be in League 2. You can do random things here with minimum and maximum ages as well. Morale and reputation, we'll get to what to do with these in a second, because the best thing to do is to find the club you're replacing and kind of copy their their values across as well, and do things kind of, try and get it into a vague area of where you're going to be when you put the team into the league you're going for. We'll go on to that again later on in the video. We'll cover that. Now we can go through to ownership and the ownership structure. Again, there are lots of different things you can do here. There's a founder, general manager, president, or chairperson. We're going to just stick with the basic chairperson, and the type of ownership as well can be, as you see here, we're going to go with an LLC. For certain types of ownership, so president, for example, and if we go to member-owned elections, for example, you can check an election date and have a new president come in and have terms like that. But for a standard LLC with a chairperson, which is what we're going to do, you can do that here. You can also stop outside takeovers if you don't want people coming in and buying the club, which may be something you want to put as a restriction on your club in your save going forward. That's an option as well, but we'll leave that blank currently. Right, stadium again we'll come back to. Finances, not sure what to put in here yet because we need to go and have a look at another club and see whether we can put them in there. Obviously we're starting with no players and no staff. We probably want a bit more budget than potentially we would otherwise, but we'll cover that in a second. You can go through all the other things here as well for such clauses or installments and things like that on different player sales if you want to fully flesh out your club rather than starting from a blank slate, but we'll cover that one again in a minute. Competitions, you can add in the division you want to be in here again, but there's a quicker way of doing it which basically prevents any issues of having too many clubs in the league, so we'll do that one as well. Sorry if it sounds like I'm just going, yeah, do that later, but we will come back to things, don't worry. You can also set the supporter profile and having different, again, we're going to leave that as the default because for the purpose of this video, I've not got any particular narrative I'm trying to push with the club and have a particular sort of fan base or anything like that. So we'll keep it nice and simple, nice and default. Again, supporter objectives, you can click to not have any supporter objectives or determine some going in. We'll just keep them open again. And contract types, again, these are all different things you can put here. We're going to, if we leave them blank, it will populate them themselves, but you can preset the different types of contracts and restrictions for different members of staff or the playing team and have them in there. But if you keep them like that, the game will just fill them in to fit the level of club you are at. And the next important thing is kits and colours. So the first bit here is pictures, and this will tell you where you need to put things into your config file as well. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but we'll cover the config file for graphics at the end. I haven't made any kits this year round, but I have got logos and icons to put in place, so we need that number later on when we do that. Then we go through to the kits, the home kit, the away kit. Again, I'm going to keep them default for now, mainly because blue matches the sort of colour we'll be going for with a club anyway. Maybe not that exact blue, but that's okay for now. You can go in and change all of these colours on all of the different types of the kit and the text and everything like that. So these appear in the 2D match engine, for example, this icon, or in the 3D match screen and things like that. If you don't install 3D kits, for example, they will overwrite them. You can set the year that they are valid for, so you can change the colour of the kits going forward in future years and essentially sort of set any changes to kit colours. Again, I'm not going to do that today, going to keep it nice and simple. You can go home, away, third, and then the same for goalkeeper kits as well, but we're just going to leave them as the defaults, and we'll come back to where we need to put those in the config file when we get to that at the end of the video. Staff and players, you can also add people into your board and add members of your playing staff and your coaching staff, players on loan, all that sort of thing, if you want to add players to your club to begin with. But we're going to start with a fresh, clean slate, so there's not going to be anything added in the staff and players section. Relationships, you can add rival clubs and affiliate clubs, favourite people, dislike people, club legends, icons. We're not going to have any sort of rival. In fact, let's add a rival club in here, and we'll just go for who can find anyone from London. Let's stick Arsenal in as our local rival, and we can also set that we don't transfer players between clubs as well. Can have it as a local rival, historic, competitive, just sort of changes the flavour of some of the narratives in game around the rivalry. So if we'll do that for Arsenal, we'll add in the other big London clubs, and I'm going to offend someone by saying that I'm missing out a club as well. So we'll put in Tottenham because, you know, they're from London. And again, in fact, the way we could do this here is instead of filtering by name, you could filter by city and change it to London, and that will bring up the thousands of clubs that appear in, well, I say thousands, 80 clubs. If we sort by reputation, you can see we're going to add in these. Oh, there's loads of Premier League clubs in London. We'll add Chelsea in as well, as all local rivals. And you can see the sort of idea you can get at. You can add them as historic or competitive rivals. So if in your narrative of creating your club, there's a club that you've been battling with for many league titles in the past, set that as a competitive rivalry rather than local or historic or anything like that. But you can do that. I'm not going to add any more clubs, just sort of, there's three just as examples. So after setting potential rival clubs, you can also go down to affiliated clubs as well and add a new one in here. You can basically change different settings for the affiliation, whether they're sub-teams, got good relations, shared clubs for youth, academies, things like that. You can. There's also an option there for women's club, which I imagine is in there to future-proof for FM25. We'll clear that section because we're not in there, and we can kind of go through. You can add in club legends and icons and everything like that as well, but we're not going to go any further in the relationships section. You can add records for like match results or runs or anything like that. But you don't need to do any of this sort of thing. And again, league history, if you want to have this club not being a fresh club, being as if you wanted to add in the promotion to League 2, for example, you can add it in as a bit of a history into the game as well. And then there's a section here called Test, and you can test that you've set your club up correctly, but we haven't still got quite a few things left to do on the list before we get into that. So if we go back up to the competitions section, this is what we're going to do next, but we're not going to do it from this page. We're going to go back to database and find competitions in here and search for the league we actually want to put our team into, which is EFL League 2 or Sky Bet League 2. If we go into here and edit it or double click, you can go to a section called Teams, and that will show all 24 teams in here. If you do it from the club page, you can add that in here and go to 25, but if you don't remove a club, you could have potentially too many clubs in a league and have issues later, and the database won't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Forest Green, wherever they are, Forest Green here, and we're going to hit this swap button at the bottom. I'll move my head out of the way because my head is probably covering it, unless I've been very good in the editor and moved it already. But now I'm going to move it over and hit swap there, and we're going to find our club that we have just created. So we've called it Sort It Out SI. If I could spell. There we go. Sort It Out SI. That is the club we are going to drop into League 2. So we've moved Susie across here, away, removed Forest Green. Susie are in the Susie. In fact, I'm going to change that short name from Susie to Sort It Out SI, just because, you know, it looks nicer on the page. So you can see we've got rid of the issue of having too many teams in the league by doing that swap option rather than adding things in. We can also see here the balance and the transfer budget. So we're going to sort by balance here and see. We can see Wrexham have got the most money, then Notts County. We probably want to be in the sort of £1 million range because we're going to have to buy a whole squad of players as well. So we're going to set our balance to about £1 million, our budget to, I mean, the top budget of the league is 200,000. Maybe do that, and then we'll see how we can go along basically and see if we can, you know, build a club out of that. So we double click back on here. You can see we've gone back to a main page. We're going to change that short name to Sort It Out SI. We'll keep Susie as the 6-letter name, and everything there, fine. We go to finances now. We can see we'll go balance. £1 million is there. You can set a transfer budget, which I think I'm going to do at 250. And then there we go. And we won't bother doing anything else about wages or anything like that, and let the game fill that sort of thing in. But that's kind of the financial situation. You can go through and sort out tickets, ticket prices, and sponsorships and everything like that as well. But I'm kind of just going to leave it to let the game figure that out as well. You can go into more detail to do so, but generally speaking, I'm just going to let the game figure it out and do it at the best place. You can see there we're already in League 2 on the competitions page as well. But if we minimise that, minimise the finances, and then the kits as well, we've done that. We'll come back. In fact, we'll keep that open because we're coming back to where the pictures need to go in a few moments as well. First up, though, stadium. We need to find ourselves a stadium to move into. I'm not going to create a new stadium. I'm going to find one in London and have a look whether it's any good or not, and whether it's fit for purpose. So if we search for London stadiums, you can see there are 68 in-game in London. In fact, no, because that's including Londonderry. We'll change the filter to is rather than contains. Do it again. There's 49. Okay, better. If we search by capacity, we want something that is... If we search that way, we don't want Wembley. Although maybe you do want Wembley. That'd be fun. Why not? And you can see the clubs. The stadium's got owners. You can see the name. Obviously, how we filtered, you know they're all in London anyway. So if we make it like that, we can basically scroll down, and some of these will not be available anymore, but they're still there listed because they still exist in the game. And we want to find a stadium that will be fit for purpose within the game to basically put us in League 2. These are too small potentially. Motspur Park, that's an old one for London. Right, we'll move. Maybe we want to fill up. Okay, so looking through the list, I think having around about 10,000 capacity is where we want to go. So I'm thinking maybe Brisbane Road and ground sharing with Leyton Orient potentially is what we want to do. Obviously, Leighton Orient don't own the ground, so I'm going to go and have a look at them in a second and see what sort of rental agreement they put in place, because you can set that in the game. But we'll go with Brisbane Road for now as the stadium of choice. We won't bother choosing a training ground just yet, but we'll have the attendance here, and we're going to go and have a look at the sort of what the rest of the clubs in the league have as their attendance, minimum attendance as well, just to kind of get an idea as to what we need to be setting things to. So we go back here on the drop down to Sky Bet League 2, and we'll have a look if we can find, in fact it might be worth looking at Leighton Orient. So in fact we go from back up to the database level and competitions, in fact, clubs rather, and we can just filter name, Leighton Orient here. Obviously, they are in League 1, so they are above the level we want to be at. But their stadium here is Brisbane Road. They've got an attendance of 7,844, 2,000 minimum, 12,000 maximum. We're going to keep the facilities all the default anyway, but we'll set that up roughly to where we want things to be. If we go here, maybe we go for 5,000 as the attendance, minimum 2,000, maximum we'll go 15. Why not? We'll go for that. And then we'll keep just the default everything else in there, so we're not going to mess around with any of the facilities. They can be fixed in the game when we start playing and getting a feel for what we need and what we haven't got. So that's the stadium sorted. We'll do that next. We'll move on to haven't set reputation or anything like that yet, have we? No. So morale and reputation are still the default. We need to change that and get an idea of what we need to be going towards. So we'll go back to League 2. Reputation here is sorted by most reputable clubs in the league. So it's looking like low 4,000s is about the region we want to be. So I'm going to set our reputation to 4,001. Yeah, we'll go 4,100, and we'll sort of sit mid-table-ish on the reputation side of things. Obviously, we've got to build a club to sort of get into that range. So we don't want to be down on the thousands. We don't want to be down lower than the bottom team in the league either, because it's going to struggle to kind of attract the kind of players we need. So we go back in and we change the reputation. We'll just go for 4,000 just to kind of give it a bit of the right ballpark for where we need to be. And morale probably doesn't really matter because we haven't got any players anyway, so it's not going to make a difference as to whether we've got a morale problem or not, because there's no one in there, and bringing new players will sort of fix those issues. Right, we've gone through the club, we've set up the competition as well. I'm just going to go a quick flick down, make sure we've set everything up. So we've got our stadium in. You can future-proof by putting a new stadium move in as well for when you think you're going to move up the club, but figure that out in a game, I think, is the best way to handle it. Finances, we've kind of done the bare bones on the finance. Again, you can set whether you've got a rich benefactor, so you've got sort of a bit of a sugar daddy in the background, or whether you're in administration, transfer bargo. There's lots of other things to do here. If you set the average, if you leave the ticket prices to 0 and let the game just sort of pick it and randomize it. I did want to check on the stadium rental actually, so that's another thing I will quickly do here. We go to back to Leighton Orient. Stadium rental, £180,000 per year. Potentially, I think we're just going to copy that. So we've got that in there. 180,000. Excellent. In fact, let's have a look at League 2 and let's just copy Mansfield because they're local to me. Ticket price 25, season ticket 375. Okay, we'll do something similar. So it's 25 and 375. Go back here. We'll go ticket prices. Will be a bit cheaper. We'll go 22, and for a season ticket 320. That's about right. We'll go for that for now, and we'll see how we get on. We'll leave the number of season ticket holders as random, and we'll basically let the game figure that out, and we won't touch anything else on the finance section. Right, that is pretty much all we're going to do in the editor. You've got the bare bones of what you need to create your own club. If you want to go into more detail in specific areas, most things are pretty self-explanatory or can be handled sort of in a test it and figure it out afterwards kind of way. But the next thing you do need to do if you want to add a club logo or anything like that, or kits, is you need this unique ID here and these paths. So what I'm going to suggest to do is go to this link on the Sort It Out SI website. I'll put it in the description below. We did a video on how to do this as well. It gives you an example config file which has everything you potentially will need to use if you are creating a blank config file for example, to create your own club. There is a download link here. There's a video here to watch if you want to see how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to briefly show you what you do need to do. And if you go to your download, you will find a config file like this. We don't want to call it temp config. We want to rename it to config and shove it in a folder within your graphics folder within document Sports Interactive Football Manager 2024 graphics. I've just put a folder called Susie Creator Club, and I've got these two files which already I've done, which are the logo and the icon, which I'm going to use in the config file. Edit it in Notepad as well, this XML file. I've got two versions of it open there, but we'll just get rid of the first one. And then this is kind of where we need to go. So we don't going to have any people in here, so we can get rid of that people section. This is the section we do need, but we've only got logo and icon, so we're just going to get rid of everything else. And because it's just a club, we don't need the competition or the nation or confederation, stadiums, anything like that. We can get rid of everything else in there and just have the club logo and club icon. So what I need to do now is need to copy the name of each of these files. And I'm literally going to hit F2, copy that one. And we go back into our config. So this is the logo. We're not going to record from picture. We're going to record from sortitoutsi_logo_normal. And again, for icon, we're going to do the same. If we delete that and change normal to small. And then if we go back to the editor, which is here, this is the number we need. It's 20003 something. Ends in 08. So we're going to change where it says unique ID. Paste that in there. Yep, that matches. Excellent. And we've got the logo and the icon set for the normal and small version. We're going to hit save, and that will save it down there. Excellent. Right, so that config file there is within the graphics folder, so the game should pick it up along with these two images. And now we're ready to save the editor data as well. So we're going to hit save editor data as, and it will basically bring you up where you need to save it. So sort it out, SI, create a club, and we'll save that here like so. Editor data saved. Now you're done in the editor, you can move over to the main version of the game, which I've got open here. Voila, excellent. What you do there from here is start a new game. So click start a new game, simple. You don't go create a club because that's how you do it in game, and that option will not be there for FM25. You go to career, and at the top here where it says database, you go to the drop down and make sure that you've got everything selected that you need. So the file we've just created, the sorted out SICAC creator club, is ticked. And I've also got the name fix files all ticked in here as well. Nothing else, so none of the other databases that I've downloaded or created in the past will be selected. So we've just got that new file there, confirm, and then we're going to go to choose game mode. Now, if you are starting your club completely from fresh, potentially having a Your World version of the game would be beneficial because there's going to be more free transfers knocking about, more potential to snap up players that you might not be able to snap up because they've gone elsewhere. So that's what I'm going to do. This is completely up to you on how you want to frame your game. Whether you want the original or the real world mode, completely up to you. I'm going to go Your World and have more players knocking about who are free or at the end of their contract as the game begins. And you go into advanced setup, let the game database load, and then basically just make sure that you've got the leagues loaded where your club have been entered. So I'm going to start from the Vanarama National and above. I have the database size set and start my game at the earliest opportunity. So I've got more time to basically try and buy players. I'm going to keep ticked the do not add key staff because that will add staff into my team that I don't need because I want to do that myself. And you can also add players to playable teams as well, so it'll fill out your squad with random players. You don't want that. Well, you might want that, but I don't want that, so I'm keeping that off as well. I've got attribute masking off just so it's easier to see who's who. And we'll just go from there. We'll start the game from there. Start the game from July 2023. We'll load everything forward and then basically just have a quick look and make sure everything's set up. We'll probably have to go into our preferences and reload the skin to get those extra graphics that we've dropped in working. If I haven't already started the game, they will probably have already been pulled through, but we'll do it anyway just to make sure. If you want guides on how to install your graphics or your real name fix, logos, kits, player faces, anything like that, we've got videos here on the channel as well, and you'll be able to find them on the website as well. So if you go onto the website, for example, and go to a download page for player faces and click on the cutout player mega pack, you can see video right there, the install guide on exactly how you do it and what you need to do to get things working. And now if we go back to game, you can see everything's loaded, and we don't want Jay Cartwright, we want me, or my Swedish counterpart at least. So there we go, Anders Bazerson is my Swedish manager who I'm going to use in this save. We're going to go to League 2 if we go to the right section, and hopefully There we go. Sort It Out SI has been created. The logo isn't there yet, but there's a way to do that. If you go to the FM at the top and go to Preferences, basically all you need to do is make sure you reload skin here. The way of doing it fully is in the video that we just talked about. Again, there's options on the skin. You need to make sure that caching's off, reload skin when confirming is on, and just hit confirm or reload skin, and you're good to go. So that will take a few seconds, minutes, depending on how quick your computer is and how many graphics you are loading, because it basically reloads everything in when you hit confirm in that menu. But once it has done it, and I'm going to fill for a few seconds whilst my computer does this, the logo will hopefully work, and fingers crossed I've not done something wrong and made a mess of the setup. Okay, so everything's loaded again. We're going to have to go back through to League 2 to hopefully see that the graphics haven't worked. Fantastic. We'll figure that one out in a second, but we will start the game up and hopefully get to a point where that is working. I've got an idea of how to fix that in a second. So we'll go through manager style and basically just suggest the badges and everything and experience based on the club we've selected. Go to confirm, hit start playing, and we will get to this screen here where we'll get loaded in. I don't know who that guy is. I think by doing that preferences thing, I've gone to a different random manager. So excellent. We'll do that again in a second and make sure everything's working fine. But you can see nothing is set up. We're playing at Brisbane Road. Everything's poor and basic. This is fine. There's nobody in the squad. There's nothing to see here. There's just your usual video in there. You go your inductions. I think my manager has been booted out and a random one has come in. Yeah, we'll redo this part, I think, and I'll get to an actual part of the video in a second when everything's working wonderfully. Be right back. Okay, so the issue was rather simple. There was a missing equal sign from this line of code here. I did rename the files as well, just in case that was the issue, but it wasn't. They just missed a equal from the record from. So everything else that we said before worked fine. Now I'm going to go back into game, and as my pro tip here is don't hit the preferences menu after you've loaded your manager up, because the game will boot you out again and just put in some no-name, no-faced manager. So here we're going to actually go back and create our actual manager we're going to use, our Swedish counterpart. Go through to England and League 2 and you will see that the Sort It Out SI logo is now there and the club is set up to go. So we're going to actually start the game this time. We're going to use our badges and experience based on the club. Start playing. Everything is working fine. And you can see the logo has been added onto our made-up kit as well in the background. Everything's fine. We're good to go. Right, we don't have anything in the team best 11 because we've not set anything up. We're just going to cycle through here and we'll do that. Perfect. So now that we have set things up correctly, you can see the Sort It Out SI logo there. If we go to the club, again, everything is as we set it up in the pre-game editor. There's nobody at the club and we are ground sharing with Leyton Orient at Brisbane Road. That's kind of it, really. There's no facilities. They're all the basic crap ones that are just in-game. Everything's adequate or poor or basic, youth level of 4. We just play at Brisbane Road. That's it, basically. If we look at the staff, we've got a manager in. That's it. Manager, a chief doctor, apparently, as well, has all been preset for as well, but you can't click on him, and neither can you click on the chairperson as well. And everything else is just my manager in-game. There's nothing else in the club. There's no players. If we quickly look, squad, these are all just grayed out players. We're going to have to find players to be able to play in this system, find some staff as well. And we've got 5 days until our first friendly. So looking at the schedule, it's going to be tough to put a squad out in 5 days. But if you would like to see me try to do that and actually manage this creators club, Sort It Out SIFC, let me know in the comments and I'll do a Let's Play series on my own channel where we take this club from League 2 and see how far we can get before FM24 comes out. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below if you've done something similar with your own club and created one, or if you're going to do so in the future. Let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories of taking clubs from nowhere to the top of your own creation. And again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching.